In this video, we are going to review functions. So given this function, it asks for the value. We know that word means to substitute. So we're substituting 6 for x. So everywhere I see an x, I'm going to put 6 instead. And then we type it in the calculator, and it ends up giving us 51. This says range values, so they're looking for the y values of this function when the domain values, so the x values, are -2, 0, and 1. So we're saying x is -2, so what does y equal? X is 0, so what does y equal? X is 1, what does y equal? So we're going to go ahead and plug in -2 for x. Then we're going to plug in 0 for x. And then we're going to plug in 1 for x. This gives me -7, this gives me 5, and this gives me 2. So our range values are -7, 5, and 2. So here we have this word domain, which we know means x values. So that means we're going to go left to right, because our x values go left to right. So the x values start at -5, and they end at 3. So our domain is from -5 to 3. It can also be written like this. And that just means that all the values you see are between -5 and 3. Our next question, our important word here is function. We know that means that that's where x doesn't repeat. So here, if I picked x1, y has 2 values, so this one is not a function. Here, if I picked x1, y only has 1 value, so this is a function. Here, if I picked x1, y has 2 values, so this is not a function. Here, if I picked x1, y has a bunch of values, so this one is also not a function. Same question here, function, so x doesn't repeat. 3, 4, 3, -1. The 3's repeat, so it's not a function. Here, if I looked at x1, y only has 1 value, so it is a function. Here, 5, 1, 2, 5, the 5's repeat, so it's not a function. Here, they're giving us a table. We know when we see a table, we have to use Desmos, and they're asking for the equation that represents this. So I went ahead and put it in Desmos, and here's the picture I got. So see how this is curving a little bit? That means it's quadratic, so we have to use the quadratic equation. So that's y1 tilde ax1 squared, because it's quadratic, plus bx1 plus c. And it gave us our a, our c, and our b. So we're going to write that as an equation. So the a is 1, so then that will be y equals 1x squared. The b was 0, so 0x, plus c, which was 1. We don't need the 0x, because 0 times x is just 0, so that's going to go away. So it's just going to be 1x squared plus 1. So then our correct answer here would be c. All right, so last question, it says, which graph best represents an x-intercept of 2 and a y-intercept of -3? So we're looking for x2 and y -3. All right, so here, x2, no. Here, x2, yes. Here, y -3, no. So that means neither of these graphs represent it, so let's draw our own graph and represent it. So x2, y -3. So this is what our graph would have to look like in order to have an x-intercept of 2 and a y-intercept of -3.